ॐ श्रीकृष्ण शरणं मम गोपिका जीवनस्मरणं गोविन्द गोविन्द सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। शुक्लां भरधरं विष्णुं शशिवर्णं चतुर्भुजं प्रसन्नवदनं ध्यायेत् सर्वविघ्नोपशान्तये। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। नमो नमः सद्गुरुभ्यो नमो नमः। सच्चिदानन्दरूपाय विश्वोत्पत्त्यादिहेतवे तापत्रय विनाशाय श्रीकृष्णाय वयं नुमः। यं प्रव्रजन्तमनुपेतमपेतकृत्यं द्वैपायनो विरह कातर आजुहाव पुत्रेति तन्मयतया तरवोऽभिनेदुः तं सर्वभूतहृदयं मुनिमानतोऽस्मि। यस्वानुभावमखिल श्रुतिसारमेकम् अध्यात्मदीपम् अतितितीर्षतां तमोन्धं संसारिणां करुणयाः पुराणगुह्यं तं व्याससूनुमुपयामि गुरुं मुनीनां। योगीन्द्राय नमस्तस्मै शुकाय ब्रह्मरूपिणे संसारसर्पदष्टं यो विष्णुरातममुमुचते कालव्यालमुखग्रास त्रासनिर्नाशहेतवे श्रीमद्भागवतं शास्त्रं कलौकीरेण भाषितम् एतस्मादपरं किञ्चित् मनःशुद्ध्यै न विद्यते जन्मान्तरे भवेत् पुण्यं तदा भागवतं लभेत् ज्ञानवैराग्यसम्पूर्णान् हरिभक्तिपरायणान् पूर्वाचार्यातहं वन्दे सम्प्रदायप्रवर्तकान् भगवन्नाम साम्राज्य लक्ष्मी सर्वस्वविग्रहं श्रीमद्बोधेन्द्रयोगीन्द्र देशिकेन्द्रम् उपास्महे। कलिकालोचितं धर्मं नाम संकीर्तनात्मकं निर्णेतुमवतीर्णं तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। हरे रामेति कृष्णेति नाम संकीर्तनं सदा लोकक्षेमाय कुर्वन्तं प्रेमिकं सद्गुरुं भजे। जन्माद्यस्य यतोऽन्वयात् इतरतश्चार्तेष्वभिज्ञस्वराट् तेने ब्रह्महृदाय आदिकवये मुह्यन्ति यत्सूरयः तेजो वारिमृदां यथा विनिमयो यत्र त्रिसर्गो मृषा धाम्ना स्वेन सदा निरस्तकुहकं सत्यं परं धीमहि धर्मः प्रोज्झितकैतवोऽत्र परमो निर्मत्सराणां सतां वेद्यं वास्तवमत्र वस्तु शिवदं तापत्रयोन्मूलनं श्रीमद्भागवते महामुनिकृते किं वा परैरीश्वरः सद्यो हृद्यवरुध्यतेऽत्र कृतिभिः शुश्रूषिभिस्तत्क्षणात् निगमकल्पतरोर्गलितं फलं शुकमुखात् अमृतद्रवसंयुतं पिबत भागवतं रसमालयं मुहुरहो रसिका भुवि भावुकाः नारायणं नमस्कृत्य नरं चैव नरोत्तमं देवीं सरस्वतीं व्यासं ततो जयमुदीरयेत्। श्रीमद्भागवताख्योऽयं प्रत्यक्षः कृष्ण एव हि स्वीकृतोऽसि मया नाथ मुक्त्यर्थं भवसागरे मनोरथो मदीयोऽयं सफलः सर्वदा त्वया निर्विघ्नेनैव कर्तव्यो दासोऽहं तव केशव। श्रीहरे नमः श्रीहरे नमः श्रीहरे नमः। गोपिका जीवन स्मरणं गोविंद गोविंद सद्गुरुनाथ महाराज की जय। Good afternoon, everyone. Okay, so we'll do a review of 30. I think it's got 34 stanzas, and we'll do about 5 stanzas of 31, so about 40 stanzas total. We can do half each. So, Vasu, can you do one, and then Meera, can you do the second half?
Yeah, I'll do the first half.
Okay.
Okay.
So the second half.
Oh, Meera Ramachandran.
So 12, Rajesh.
20, 1 to 20.
1 to 20. Okay. कपिल उवाच तस्या तस्य जनो नूनं नायं वेदोरुविक्रमं काल्यामानोऽपि बलिनो वायोरिव गणावलिः.
So the first word, sorry, tasyai tasya.
Okay. तस्यैतस्य जनो नूनं नायं वेदोरुविक्रमं मानोऽपि बलिनो वायोरिव गणावलिः यं यमिमर्थम् उपादत्ते दुःखेन सुखहेतवे तं तुं धुनोति भगवान् पुमां शोचति यत्कृते यदा ध्रुवस्य देहस्य सानुबन्धस्य दुर्मतिः ध्रुवाणि मन्यते मोहाद् गृहक्षेत्र वसूनि च जन्तुर्वैभव एतस्मिन् यं यं योनिमनुव्रजेत् तस्यां स लभते निवृत्तं न विरज्यते. करेक्ट ताने?
First line yam yam. Okay, just not yam yam. Yam yam
ओ
yam.
यां योनिमनुव्रजेत् तस्यां स लभते निवृत्तं न विरज्यते. करेक्ट ताने अद?
Yeah.
नरकस्तोऽपि देहं वै न पुमां त्यक्तुमिच्छति नारक्यां निवृत्तौ सत्यां देव माया विमोहितः आत्मजाया सुताघार I know it's not आत्मजाया सुताघार पशुद्रविण बन्धुषु निरूढ मूल हृदयः आत्मानं बहुमन्यते सन्दह्य मान सर्वाङ्गः एषा मुद्वहनादिना करोति विरतं मूढो धुरितानि दुराशयः आक्षिप्तात् मेन्द्रियस्त्रीणाम् असतीनां च मायया रहोरचित्तया लापैः शिशूनां कलभाषिणाम् गृहेषु कूटधर्मेषु दुःखतन्त्रेष्वतन्द्रितः कुर्वन् दुःख प्रतीकारं सुखवन् मन्यते गृही अर्थैरापादितैर्गुर्व्या अर्थैरापादितैर्गुर्व्या हिंसयेतस्ततश्च तान् पुष्णाति येषां पोषेण शेषभुग्यात्यतः स्वयं वार्तायां लुप्यमानायाम् आरब्धायां पुनः पुनः लोभाभिभूतो निस्सत्वः परार्थे कुरुते स्पृहां भरणाकल्पो मन्दभाग्यो वृतोद्यमः श्रिया विहीनः कृपणो ध्यायन् स्वसिति
मूढधीः
एवं स्वभरणा कल्पं तत्कलात्राधयस्तथा नाध्रियन्ते यथा पूर्वं कीनाशा इव गोचरम् तत्राप्य जात निर्वेदो ब्रियमान स्वयं भृतैः जरयोपात् तवैरूप्यो
जरयोपात वैरूप्यो
जरयोपात वैरूप्यो. ओके, जरयोपात वैरूप्यो मरणाभिमुखो गृहे आस्तेवमत्यो. करेक्ट अन्वर्थ? आस्तेवमत्योपन्यस्तं गृहपाला इवाहरम् आमयाव्य प्रदीप्ताग्निः अल्पाहारोल्पचेष्टितः वायुनोत्क्रमतोत्तारः कपः संरुद्ध नादिकः काशश्वासकृतायासः. கரெக்டா அது?
காச அந்த ஷ சவுண்ட் வராது. அந்த ஃபர்ஸ்ட் வேர்ட் இஸ் காச ஸ்வாச.
काशश्वासकृतायासः कण्ठे गुरायते शयनः परिशोचद्भिः परिवृता स्वबन्धुभिः.
அந்த வேர்ட் வசு परिवीत स्वबन्धुभिः.
स्वबन्धुभिः वाच्यमानोऽपि न भृते कालपाशवशं गतः एवं कुटुम्बभरणे व्यापृतात् माजितेन्द्रियः म्रियते रुदतां स्वानाम् उरुवेद Tadihi, correcta?
Yeah.
Tadihi, dane.
Tadihi, long E, yeah.
Yamadutau tada
Yamaduto.
Yamadutau tada praptau bhimau sarabhasekshणौ sadrishtva trastahridayah shakrin mutram vimunchati
Shakrin, and the word kru sound. Shakrin.
Shakrin mutram vimunchati yata nadeha आवृत्य पाशैर्भद्वा गले भलात् नयतो दीर्घम् अध्वानं दण्डयं राजभट्ट भट्टायता करेक्टா
இல்ல அந்த தண்டியம் அது வந்து இட்ஸ் நாட் தன் டை ஃபுல் டா வராது இட்ஸ் ஹாஃப் டா சோ தண்டியம் ராஜ
ஓகே நான் அந்த வாட்டி இந்த ஒரே வாட்டி சொல்லிடுறேன் இது யாத யதா யாத்தநாதேஹ ஆவृत्य पाशैर्भद्वा गले बलात् नयतो दीर्घम् अध्वानं दण्ड्यं राजभटायता करेक्टா
yeah correct yeah we can stop there yeah
तयोर्निर्भिन्न हृदयः तर्जनैर्जातवेपतुः पतिस्वभिर्भक्ष्यमाण आर्तोघं स्वमनुस्मरन् क्षुत्रिट्परितोर्कदवानलानिलैः सन्तप्यमानः पतितप्तवालुके कृच्छ्रेण पृष्ठे कषया च ताडितः चलत्यशक्तोऽपि निराश्रमोदके तत्र पतन् श्रान्तो मूर्छितः पुनरुत्थितः पथा पापीयसानीतः तमसा यमसादनं योजनानां सहस्राणि नवतिं नवचाध्वनः त्रिभिर्मुहूर्तैर्द्वाभ्यां वा नीतः प्राप्नोति यातनाः आदीपनं स्वगात्राणां वेष्टयित्वोल्मुखादिभिः आत्ममासादनं क्वापि स्वकृतिं परतोऽपि वा जीवतश्चान्त्राभ्युद्धारः स्वगृधैर्यमसादने सर्पवृश्चिकदंशाद्यैः दशभिश्चात्मवैशसं कृतनं चावयवशो गजादिभ्योऽभिधापनं पातनं गिरिशृङ्गेभ्यो रोधनं चाम्बुगर्तयोः
மீதான் the first word first name கிருந்தனம்
sorry कृन्तनं
yeah
यास्तामिस्त्रान्धतामिस्राः रौरवाद्याश्च यातनाः भुङ्क्ते नरो वा नारी वा मिथः सङ्गेन निर्मिताः अत्रैव नरकस्वर्गः इति मातः प्रचक्षते या यातना वै नारक्यस्ताः
and I think you added something extra ya yatana vai narakyah ta ihatyupalakshitah
sorry या यातना वै नारक्यः ता इहाप्युपलक्षिताः
Rajesh, I have a doubt there. Is it half per or half the iha நீங்க சொல்லும்போது இஹாத்திய சொல்றேன் but எங்களோ most of us repeat it as iha ip
it's ip only is my recording saying it
that's what I hear even
okay,
now I thought you said it
okay I'll just double check but it is a ip pa
yeah thanks
iha api upalakshitah so ihapyupalakshitah
okay thank you
एवं कुटुम्बं बिभ्राणः उदरं भर एव वा विसृज्येहोभयं प्रेत्य भुङ्क्ते तत्फलमीदृशम् एकः प्रपद्ये ध्वान्तं हित्वेदं स्वकलेवरं कुशलेतरपाथेयो भूतद्रोहेण यद्भृतं देवैनासादितं
दैवे
तस्य
दैवेन
दैवेनासादितं तस्य शमलं निरये पुमान् भुङ्क्ते कुटुम्बपोषस्य हृतवित्त इवातुरः केवलेन ह्यधर्मेण कुटुम्बभरणोत्सुकः याति जीवोन्धतामिस्रं चरमं तमसः पदम् अधस्तान्नरलोकस्य यावत्तीर्यातनादयः क्रमशः समनुक्रम्य पुनरत्राव्रजेच्छुचिः इति श्रीमद्भागवते महापुराणे पारमहंस्यां संहितायां तृतीयस्कन्धे कापिलेनोपाख्याने कर्मविपाको नाम 30ोऽध्यायः। अथ 31ोऽध्यायः। श्रीभगवानुवाच कर्मणा दैवनेत्रेण जन्तुर्देहोपपत्तये स्त्रियाः प्रविष्ट उदरं पुंसोरेतः कनाश्रयः कललं त्वेकरात्रेण पञ्चरात्रेण बुद्भुतं दशाहेन तु कर्कन्धुः पेष्यण्डं वा ततः परं मासेन तु शिरोद्वाभ्यां बाह्वक्र्याद्यविग्रहः नखलो मास्ति चर्माणि लिङ्गचित्रोद्भवस्त्रिभिः चतुर्भिर्धातवः सप्त पञ्चभिक्षुतृभवः. And the word another?
And the visarga you have to say that. Panchabihikshutrudbhavah.
Panchabihikshutrudbhavah. Shadbirjara yunavitah. Kukshau bhramyati dakshine. Maturjagbhatnapanadhyaihi. Adhatbaturasam.
Edat dhaturasam
एतद्धातुरसम्मते शेते विनमूत्रयोर्गर्ते सजन्तुर्जन्तुसम्भवे.
Yeah, the second line, first word, bin, not bin, half in the shete bin mutrayor garte. Okay, all right. Okay, so let's continue with 31. 31 is also a small chapter, but it's a very intense chapter, like 30, right? So just to recap, right? So in 30, we kind of saw about the life of a grihastha, how a grihastha typically spends their life, what happens during their old age, then what happens during the time of death, and we also saw what happens after death, and a bit through what happens at death and what stages the soul goes through, right? Now, due to several factors and criteria which are beyond the scope of today's discussion, because even I don't know, nobody knows, it's very complicated. The soul takes different births. Like we said, it says in the last, towards the end of it, Kapila said that, based on your karmic, whatever karma and everything done, you may take lower births that you are there, lower life forms, animals, insects, etc., etc. And at some point, you get ready for a human birth again, or maybe in the next birth, you're a human again. You are then born as a human. That's what he said. He's not telling what criteria leads you to what, because it's a very complicated karmic, math that happens, right? Anyway, so here we are directly going to jump into it, right? So here, Kapila starts from the time a child is being created, right? So see, everything in our Puranas, nothing is non-scientific. Everything is very scientific. So Kapila says very clearly, it says a semen from the male gets into the woman, and at that time, conception begins. The process begins, right? It's not some magic that happens. It's a scientific process. Now, but he says one thing very clearly in the first line, Daiva Netrena. It says only under the guidance of the Bhagavan, it decides when a woman is going to conceive, right? Because everybody knows, you all people try all those different things, but not everything succeeds, right? So the success, because it has to be, first of all, the parents have to be ready to get a child, and then there should be a soul who is ready to enter the womb. So all of these math and calculations have to happen for a person to get pregnant, right? So that's what he says, with the Daiva Netrena, the male semen enters into the female body, and then with that process, the biological, it enters into the womb, and then the process of conception starts. And then he talks in the first few stanzas about what is happening, right? So he talks about, initially he talks how in the first night, the sperm and the ovum, they unite, the conception is beginning. Then it talks about, it comes in the first few stanzas anyway, pancharatrena bhutbhutam. In the fifth night, it becomes a small bubble-like form. Dashahena to karkanduhu. In the 10th night, it takes the form of a small plum shaped. It becomes then patientium param, and then it becomes, it then starts forming the form of flesh in case of humans or mammals, and then in case of any egg-bearing species, it actually starts becoming an egg. Then masena to shirodhvabhyam. Says after 1 month, the head is starting to form. Then bahvangryadhyanga vigraha. Bahva angriya anga. So bahva, the hand, the feet, the limbs, all of that start taking shape in the 2nd month. Then naka lomasti charmani. Naka is nails. So the nails, fingers, toes, skin, hair, bones, all of that start forming after the 3rd month. So with this, the body is beginning to form shape, right? Then Chaturbir Dhatava Saptama, the 4th month, it says all of the other bodily elements which are required, the blood, the flesh, and then the fat, all of that starts forming. Then it says by the Panchabihi Kshutrududbhavaha, in the 5th month, what happens is the fetus, the baby that is getting formed there, that is actually beginning to feel hunger and thirst. So it now starts drawing that nourishment from the mother's body. Then Shadbir Jarayuna Vitaha. In the 6th month, the fetus, which is now enclosed in the protective membrane in the mother's womb, starts to move within the womb in the 6th month. So we begin to see, the mother begins to see motion that is actually happening, right? Now, some things he's going to say is going to be very, you'll feel very bad listening to it. But he says, first of all, it says the fetus, of course, we all know that it absorbs whatever nutrition the mother is consuming, the food and the drink, everything it is consuming. It says it is growing within the womb, which is filled with lot of the bodily waste. Essentially, it is not in a very clean space, right? So it is a very unpleasant space. So given a choice, if we tell ourselves, do you want to go stay in a place like that, which is very unpleasant, which is very warm, which is dark, it is filled with a lot of impurities and bad organisms? We would never sign up to do that, right? We are kids, when we go to India, we get offended when we get into the train, right? No, it says this place is such a bad place that none of us would ever want to be. But the body, I'll talk about the soul a little bit in a minute, but the thing which is there, the baby which is getting forming there, is helpless, right? It cannot escape. Even if it doesn't like it, or it likes or doesn't like, it cannot escape. It's completely trapped there, unable to be able to escape. And it talks about how all the small worms and everything which are actually there, which is there in our gut, which is also there inside the womb of the mother, is always coming and biting and disturbing the body, and the body gets very uncomfortable, right? And the body begins to feel the pain, because it can start, the senses are already formed, it can start feeling the pain, but it cannot react. What can it do? It doesn't know where it is stuck there, right? So it is just in that unfortunate situation. And then it talks about, all the Katu Tikshnoshna Lavana. It talks about all the food that the pregnant woman wants to eat. We feel like, I want to eat some sour food, I want to eat spicy food, I want to eat all these foods. He says all of that is beginning to affect the body, or beginning to affect the body. It feels the effect of it, right? But it cannot react. It doesn't know what is happening. It is just feeling all of those sensations, and it is just stuck, right? And it says all of this is also influencing how the body is shaping before the body is going to take birth, right? That's why they say when you're pregnant, you listen to good things, you eat all sattvic foods, you eat healthy foods, because it's just all of it is shaping the body of the baby which is coming, and also the mindset of the baby, right? So the important aspect here is the soul has entered into the body at that time in the first stanza itself. According to the supervision of the Lord, the soul has entered. Now the soul is not active, right? The soul is in a stagnant. The soul does not have any awareness. So think of it as the switch has not been turned on, which means the soul is not experiencing any of this stuff until the 7th month. So till the 7th month, the body is functioning. The limbs are there, the senses are there, the body can start feeling the pain. Like we said, the body is functioning, but the soul is there, because until the soul is active, the body cannot be there. The soul has to be there for the body to be active, reacting. But the soul does not have any consciousness. So the soul does not know anything. It is not getting affected. It's not impacted by anything till the 7th month, right? And so, and then it talks about how in stanza 8 it talks about how it's such a tight space. It says that it is such a tight space. The head has to be curved, the body has to be curved, its entire back is curved. This all in a cramped place, right? That it is not feeling comfortable. It is not a comfortable place for anybody, for that matter, and even for the body, which is actually not there, it is not a comfortable place. Now, in the 7th month, what happens is the soul, which is entered already into the body of the baby, that soul now becomes conscious. So the soul now realizes, okay, I am in a body right now, right? Now beautifully it starts talk about, in some cases, if it is a fortunate soul. Now, what is the definition of who is fortunate in this case? Is person who is little bit spiritually advanced, who's not having material attachments in the previous life, but still having taken birth. If you are very spiritually very low on the scale, you are not going to have this feeling. But somebody who's realized soul, little bit spiritually advanced, they start having memory of their past lives in the body. So at that time, they can remember hundreds of births, all their previous births, how much ever they want, they can remember all the birth that the soul has actually been through. Now, if the soul is less conscious in terms of spiritually, it's still very attached. A lot of people, when you die, if you're still materially attached, like we saw in the last class, if you're still very materially attached, you're born again with that material attachment. All those vasanas are not going to go away, right? They are going to stay with you. So if you're born again with those vasanas, you are not going to experience this. But if you're relatively advanced spiritually, you realize that I want to be spiritually oriented, but due to several things, you are still materially attached. I don't know what the threshold is, but certain fortunate souls, they start remembering all of the past things. So when this happens, the soul is feeling so much grief, right? Because it is realizing, oh my God, I've got stuck again, right? It realizes all the sins it has committed, and it says, I am going to be born again, right? And I have committed all these sins, which means, like we saw, when the soul departs also, it feels the same thing. Oh my God, what all sins I have committed, right? I have to repay this. It's not going to escape away. Similarly, in the womb, it is feeling the same thing. I've committed all these sins, but it has realization now, right? That I should not be doing these things, that whatever I did was wrong. I should not be doing these things going forward. But right now, what can it do? It is stuck in the womb of the mother. It cannot do anything, right? So in this situation, it is now sitting there wondering what is actually happening. And it says in the 7th month, the body starts getting the baby ready for delivery, right? So at the 7th or end of the 7th month, there's some air which goes down, which pushes the embryo, to a certain position, and the baby starts moving. That's when you start feeling the kicking and all of this stuff. At this point, between the 7th month and the 10th month, the baby does a stuti, the soul does a stuti. Only those conscious souls, not all the souls, right? Those souls go does a beautiful stuti. So I will explain that stanza by stanza when we go through that, which starts from stanza 12. And it just essentially, but you have to imagine the state, right? Imagine you are at a point where you are saying, I know all the sins I have committed in my previous life. I know I'm going to commit more sins if I get out, and I don't want to commit those sins, right? So you are essentially praying to say, get me out of this womb. I don't want to take birth. That's what the soul is going to say. I don't want to take birth, because if I take birth, I know I'm going to commit more sins. So it prays saying, let me not be born. Let me just die. Relieve me here itself. Because it knows if it continues, it is going to be born, it is going to commit mistakes, and it knows there's no way. Now it is in realization state, right? So at that state, the soul does a stuti, right? Praying for knowledge, right? So it doesn't commit it. So that we'll see when you go to stanza 12. Okay, so 2:30. All right. So Jayashree, Shankar, you can be a student, and Sundari was there today. Yeah, Sundari, you can be a student. Stanza 6. Krimi bihi, you have to say that visarga there. Krimi bihi Kshata sarvangaha, saukumaryat pratikshanam, murcham apnotyuruk kleshaha. So you cannot break it too much, so that ma you can break it. Murcham apnotyuruk kleshaha is goes away, visarga, tatratyaihi. Again, visarga sound has to come. Tatratyaihi kshuditair muhuhu. So there's a little tough stanza there. Krimibihi kshata sarvangah saukumaryat pratikshanam मूर्छाम आपनोत्युरुक्लेशः तत्रत्यैः क्षुदितैर्मुहुः.
कृमिभिः क्षतसर्वाङ्गः सौकुमार्यात् प्रतिक्षणं मूर्छाम् आप्नोत्युरुक्लेशः तत्रत्यैः क्षुदितैर्मुहुः.
कृमिभिः क्षतसर्वाङ्गः सौकुमार्यात् प्रतिक्षणं मूर्छाम् आप्नोत्युरुक्लेशः तत्रत्यैः क्षुधितैर्मुहुः.
कटु तीक्ष्णोष्ण लवण put a plus रूक्षाम्लादिभिर्. So you can break it that here. रूक्षाम्लादिभिर् उल्बनैः मातृभुक्तैर् उपस्पृष्टः कम सर्वाङ्गोत्थित वेदनः. कटुतीक्ष्णोष्णलवण रूक्षाम्लादिभिरुल्बनैः मातृभुक्तैर् उपस्पृष्टः सर्वाङ्गोत्थितवेदनः.
कटुक्तीक्ष्णोष्णलवणरूक्षां मातृभुक्तैरुपस्पृष्टः सर्वाङ्गोत्थितवेदनः.
कटुतीक्ष्णोष्णलवण रूक्षाम्लादिभिरुल्बणैः मातृभुक्तैरुपस्पृष्टः सर्वाङ्गोत्थितवेदनः.
उल्बेन संवृतस्तस्मिन्. You have a double na there. Put a in comma. Next word starts with a a. Antraischa bahiravritah आस्ते कृत्वा शिरः कुक्षौ कम भुग्न पृष्ठ शिरोधरः. उल्भेन संवृतस्तस्मिन् अन्त्रैश्च बहिरावृतः आस्ते कृत्वा शिरः कुक्षौ भुग्न पृष्ठ शिरोधरः.
उल्बेन संवृतस्तस्मिन् अन्त्रैश्च बहिरावृतः आस्ते कृत्वा शिरकुक्षौ भुग्नपृष्ठशिरोधरः.
उल्बेन संवृतस्तस्मिन् अन्त्रैश्च बहिरावृतः आस्ते कृत्वा शिरः कुक्षौ भुग्नपृष्ठशिरोधरः.
अकल्पस् स्वांग चेष्टायां कम शकुंत इव पंजरे तत्र लब्ध स्मृतिर्दैवात् कम कर्म जन्म शतोद्भवम् स्मरन् दीर्घम् अनुच्छ्वासं कम शर्म किं नाम विन्दते. अकल्पस्वाङ्गचेष्टायां शकुन्त इव पञ्जरे तत्र लब्ध स्मृतिर्दैवात् कर्म जन्म शतोद्भवम् स्मरन् दीर्घमनुच्छ्वासं शर्म किं नाम विन्दते.
अकल्पस्वाङ्गचेष्टायां शकुन्त इव पञ्जरे तत्र लब्धस्मृतिर्दैवात् कर्मजन्म शतोद्भवं स्मरन् दीर्घमनुच्छ्वासं शर्म किं नाम विन्दते.
अकल्पस्वाङ्गचेष्टायां शकुन्त इव पञ्जरे तत्र लब्धस्मृतिर्दैवात् कर्मजन्म शतोद्भवम् स्मरन् दीर्घम् अनुच्छ्वासं शर्म किं नाम विन्दते.
आरभ्य सप्तमान् मासात्. The double l is there. Put a it सप्तमान् मासात् कॉमा लब्ध बोधोपि वेपितः नैकत्रास्ते सूति वातैः विसर्गा कॉमा. Next line the ear goes away. विष्ठा भूरिव सोदरः. आरभ्य सप्तमान् मासात् लब्ध बोधोपि वेपितः नैकत्रास्ते सूतिवातैः विष्ठा भूरिव सोदरः.
आरभ्य सप्तमान् मासात् लब्धबोधोऽपि वेपितः नैकत्रास्ते सूतिवातैः विष्टा भूरिव सोदरः
आरभ्य सप्तमान् मासात् लब्धबोधोऽपि वेपितः नैकत्रास्ते सूतिवातैः विष्ठा भूरिव सोदरः
नाथमान ऋषिर्भीतः सप्त वद्रिः कृताञ्जलिः स्तुवीत तं विक्लवया वाचा येनोदरेर्पितः नाथमान ऋषिर्भीतः सप्तवद्रिः कृताञ्जलिः स्तुवीत तं विक्लवया वाचा येनोदरेर्पितः
नाथमान ऋषभिर्भीतः सप्तवग्रैकृताञ्जलिः स्तुवीततं
विक्लवया
विक्लव्य
विक्लवया
स्तुवीततं विक्लव्य वाचा येनोदरेर्पितः विक्लव्य
विक्लवया full va विक्लवया
विक्लवय थैंक यू
नाथमान ऋषिभिर्भीतः सप्तवद्रिः कृताञ्जलिः स्तुवीत तं विक्लवया वाचा येनोदरेर्पितः
the first line I only have rishir bhitah no rishi bhi you have only rishi right rishir bhitah
ऋषिर्भीतः
yeah okay.
Correct.
So it says now it says that the soul with advanced souls it says is just a krita anjali it's doing with its folded hands it's going to pray to Bhagavan, right? Now of course now how will a soul know Sanskrit? The soul is not going to pray in Sanskrit, right? The soul is thinking, right? Whatever it thinks is converted into Sanskrit, which is what we are going to say, see what the Jantu is saying, Janturu Vacha, which is the prayer that the soul is going to do. I won't say for every stanza, but important stanzas I'll say the meaning there. Janturu Vacha Tasyopasannam Avitum Jagat Ichayata put a plus Nana Tanor Bhuvi Chalaj Charanara Bindham Soham Brajami Sharanam Hyakuto Bhayam Me, Eni Drishi Gatira Darshya Satonu Rupa. You cannot break it too much. You can just say Gatir Adarshya Satonu Rupa. That portion you can say it together. So first is always it is doing a Sharanam, right? It's saying, I'm doing Sharanam to you, Bhagavan, it's because of you, that I am in this state, right? I am born right now because of you. I'm able to take this body. I've got this body because of you. So I'm first doing namaskarams to you. And it says, I know I have gotten this body because of all the karma I have done in the past. So it is not like some, that is randomly allocated. I'm taking birth right now because of what I have done in my past. I deserve this. So whatever is happening is the right thing that is happening. But first it is praying to you, who's the Supreme Lord, Jagat, because of your ichha, because of your wish, this is happening. Janturu Vacha Tasyopasannamavitum Jagadichayata Tanodbhuvi Chalat Charanara Soham Brajami Sharanam Hyakuto Bhayam Me Yeni Drishi Gatira Darshya Satonu Rupa.
जन्तुरुवाच तस्योपसन्नम् अवितुं जगत् इच्छयात् नानातनोर्भुवि चलच्चरणारविन्दं सोऽहं व्रजामि शरणं ह्यकुतो भयं मे येनेदृशी गतिरदर्श्य सतोऽनुरूपा
तस्योपसन्नमवितुं जगत् इच्छयात् नानातनोर्भुवि चलच्चरणारविन्दं सोऽहं व्रजामि शरणं ह्यकुतो भयं मे येनेदृशी गतिरदर्श्य सतोऽनुरूपा.
Yes, Twatra Baddha Iva Karmabhir Avritatma, if you want to break it, that ra, comma, Bhutendriyashaya Mayim Avalambhya Mayam Aste. I'm just going to break this into a few parts if you want. Aste Vishuddham Avikaram Akhanda Bodham. Put a im at the end of that line. Next line, the ma becomes a. Atapyamana Hridaye Vasitam Namami. Namami is doing namaskarams, right? He's saying, I'm namaskarams to you. He says, I am right now. I do realize, the soul says, I do realize that I am changeless. The soul in itself, I know I am not going to change. I know I'm not going to be affected by everything that is going to happen, right? So he says, because of that, I'm able to realize who you truly are. I'm able to understand that. So with that knowledge, I'm doing namaskarams to you. यस्त्वत्र बद्ध इव कर्मभिरावृतात्मा भूतेन्द्रियाशयमयीम् अवलम्ब्य मायाम् आस्ते विशुद्धमविकारमखण्डबोधम् आतप्यमानहृदये वसितं नमामि.
यस्तत्र बद्ध इव कर्मभिरावृतात्मा भूतेन्द्रियाशयमयीम् अवलम्ब्य मायाम् आस्ते विशुद्धमविकारमखण्डबोधम् आतप्यमानहृदये वसितं नमामि.
यस्त्वत्र बद्ध इव कर्मभिरावृतात्मा भूतेन्द्रियाशयमयीम् अवलम्ब्य मायाम् आस्ते विशुद्धम् अविकारमखण्डबोधम् आतप्यमानहृदये वसितं नमामि.
यः पञ्चभूतरचिते रहितः शरीरे छन्नो, and then put a plus, yatendriya gunartha chidatmakoham. So those two lines together. Tena vikuntha mahimanam rishim tamenam, comma, vande param prakriti purushayof pumamsam. Just a regular stuti it is doing, saying I know I'm going to be getting into the material body, which is going to be covered with the panchabhutas, and however, I as a soul am always spiritual. But once that material body is going to come on to me, those senses start acting, I'm going to start changing. But the soul doesn't change. I start reacting differently. Yah panchabhuta rachite rahita sharire channo yatendriya gunartha chidatmakoham tena vikuntha mahimanam risham tamenam vande param prakriti purushayoh pumamsam.
यः पञ्चभूतरचिते रहितः शरीरे छन्नो यथेन्द्रियगुणात् चिदात्मकोऽहं तेनाविकुण्ठमहिमानं ऋषिं तमेनं वन्दे परं प्रकृतिपूरुषयोः पुमांसम्.
यः पञ्चभूतरचिते रहितः शरीरे छन्नो यतेन्द्रियगुणार्थचिदात्मकोऽहं तेनाविकुण्ठमहिमानऋषिं तमेनं वन्दे परं प्रकृतिपूरुषयोः पुमांसम्.
yen mayayoru guna karma nibandhanesmin, samsarike paticharams tadabhishramena nashta smritif punarayam pravrinita lokam, yuktya kaya mahad anugraham antarena. So this one, little bit, it's I think somebody asked a question last time, is why do we forget? Actually, we have not forgotten, but I will tell you how we'll start deviating away. So that's what the soul is saying, that although I am pure and spiritual, I know it. Later on, I know once I'm born, I'm going to get into that conditioned life where I'm going to lose this connection, and so it is only because of your mercy you have to bring me back to that connection again, because I know I'm going to lose that connection. यन्माययोर्गुणकर्मनिबन्धनेऽस्मिन् सांसारिके पतिचरंस्तदभिश्रमेण नष्टस्मृतिः पुनरयं प्रवृणीतलोकं युक्त्या कयामहदनुग्रहमन्तरेण.
यन्माययोरुगुणकर्मनिबन्धनेऽस्मिन् सांसारिके पतिचरंस्तदभिश्रमेण नष्टस्मृतिः पुनरयं प्रवृणीतलोकं युक्त्या कया महदनुग्रहमन्तरेण.
यन्माययोर्गुणकर्मनिबन्धनेऽस्मिन् सांसारिके पतिचरंस्तदभिश्रमेण नष्टस्मृतिः पुनरयं प्रवृणीतलोकं युक्त्या कया महदनुग्रहमन्तरेण.
ज्ञानं यदेतत् अदधात्, just break at the da if you want, यदेतत् अदधात् katamas sa devah, put a visargan comma. Next line, the is goes away. Traikalikam stira chareshvanu vartitamshah. That's one word. Chareshvanu vartitamshah. Tam jiva karma padavim anuvartamanaha. Put a visargan comma there. Next line is goes away. Tapa trayopa shamanaya vayam bhajema. Bhajema is praying, so I'm surrendering to you. Continues that. ज्ञानं ह्येतत् अदधात् कथमः स देवः त्रैकालिकं स्थिरचरेष्वनुवर्तितांशः तं जीवकर्म पदवीम् अनुवर्तमानाः तापत्रयोपशमानाय वयं भजेम.
Rajesh, is it Shamanaya or Shamanaya?
Shamanaya.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, also Shamanaya only. Let me double check.
I have
Does your book have Shamanaya?
Shamanaya. We have Shamanaya.
Yeah, my book also has Shamanaya.
Yeah, Shamanaya only makes sense. I don't know why it says
I
Shamanaya.
have
Okay.
Samanaya.
Yeah, but I think Shamanaya only makes sense. It shouldn't be Shamanaya. Okay, we'll just change it to Shamanaya. I think that I don't know if anybody else can exactly correct. Atte, if you're there, Shamanaya versus Shamanaya. Anga.
இல்ல என்னோட புக் ஷமனாய தான் போட்டிருக்கு. ஐ திங்க் அதான் கரெக்ட் நினைக்கிறேன்.
Yeah, okay. All right. So we just change it to Shamanaya. In case your books have Shamanaya, just fix that.
Jnanam yadetad adhatat katamah स देवः त्रैकालिकं स्थिरचरेष्वनुवर्तितांशः तं जीवकर्मपदवीम् अनुवर्तमानाः तापत्रयोपशमनाय वयं भजेम.
ज्ञानं यदेतत् अदधात् कथमः स देवः त्रैकालिकं स्थिरचरेष्वनुवर्तितांशः तं जीवकर्मपदवीम् अनुवर्तमानाः तापत्रयोपशमनाय वयं भजेम.
17, we'll just switch. Priya Sriram can be student and Vani can be student. Dehyanya Deha Vivare Jhataragni Nasrig, put a plus. Vin Mutra Kupa Patito Brisha Tapta Deha. So those two lines together. Ichannito Vibasitum Ganayan Swamasan, put a plus. Nirvasyate Kripana Dhir Bhagavan Kadanu. So this is a very, because now, as like you said, right, the 7th month, the soul can start feeling where it is, right? And it is saying, I'm in a pool of blood, stool, and urine. I have all this, I'm lying in this liquid, which is so filthy, right? And I wouldn't want to live here, but I'm stuck there right now. And then the mother Jatar Agni, the gastric fire of the mother is also affecting the baby. Because whatever the mother eats, the fire, the body, the gastric fire changes, and that impacts the baby. She's saying it's getting stuck there, and it wants to get out, right? And it is saying now at one point, so it's going to go through two mindsets. First, it says, I want to get out, because it says this place is unbearable. I don't want to live here, right? And it's saying, I'm Ganayan Swamasa, and I'm counting the months, I'm counting the time, how long I have to be stuck here before I can be released from this pain, right? And it says, oh God, when will I get a chance to come out of this pain that I'm going through right now? That is the first thought the soul is having. Dehyanya deha vivare jataragni nasrag vinmutra kupa patito brishatapta deha ichannito vipasitum ganayan swamasa nirvasyate kripanadhir bhagavan kadanu.
देह्यन्यदेहविवरे जठराग्निनासृक् विन्मूत्रकूपपतितो बृषतप्तदेहः इच्छन्नितो विवसितुं गणयन् स्वमासान् निर्वास्यते कृपणधीर्भगवन् कदा नु.
देहन्यदेहविवरे जठराग्निनासृक् विन्मूत्रकूपपतितो पृषतप्तदेहः इच्छन्नितो विवसितुं गणयन् स्वमासान् निर्वास्यते कृपणधीर्भगवन् कदा नु.
Yeni drishim gatimasau dashamasya isha, put a plus, sangrahitah puru dayena bhavadrishena svenaiva tushyatu kritena sa dina natah, ko nama tat prati vinanjalim asya kuryat. Vinanjalim asya kuryat. So it's 10 months old, dashamasya. So it's 10 months old, it's kind of telling that it is because of your mercy that at least I'm able to realize this now, right? And like I said, advanced souls, It's saying I'm able to at least realize this because I'm now in pure consciousness. I know it's because of this I'm able to realize this. So there's no way. How can a soul or a body which is cramped in a mother's womb, hunched and with bent, express gratitude? It says this, I can't even thank you, right? He says the only way I can thank you is to do hold Anjali, because I can at least bring my hands together, right? So at least by bringing my hands together and through my mind, I'm offering you Anjali. Thank you for at least making me realize now what the truth is, right? Where I'm stuck and why I should get out of this. येन्हीदृशीं गतिमसौ दशमास्य ईश सङ्ग्राहितः पुरुदयेन भवादृशेन स्वेनैव तुष्यतु कृतेन स दीननाथः को नाम तत्प्रतिविनाञ्जलिमस्य कुर्यात्.
येनेदृशीं गतिमसौ दशमास्य ईश सङ्ग्राहितः पुरुदयेन भवादृशेन स्वेनैव तुष्यतु कृतेन स दीननाथः को नाम तत्प्रतिविनाञ्जलिमस्य कुर्यात्.
The Isha kapram comma, but it's okay if you're comfortable saying it together. First name.
येनेदृशीं गतिमसौ दशमास्य ईश सङ्ग्राहितः पुरुदयेन भवादृशेन स्वेनैव तुष्यतु कृतेन सदीननाथः को नाम तत्प्रति विनाञ्जलिमस्य कुर्यात्.
पश्यत्ययं दिशनया ननु सप्तवद्रिः शारीरके दम शरीर्यपरस् स्वदेहे यत् सृष्टयासं तमहं पुरुषं पुराणं पश्ये बहिर्हृदि च चैत्यमिव प्रतीतम्. So it says there are so many bodies I could have taken, right? Well, if you take a body as an insect or something, you're only reacting, you're only playing by instinct, right? And you have certain senses, like we saw the gradation of the consciousness, you have certain instincts is there. He says, but now I have a body where I can control my senses, right? I can control with my mind what I get attracted to, what I don't have to get attracted to. So it says, thank you for giving me this body, because I now can control my senses with this body. Because when you are a small insect, you cannot do too many things. When you're a small animal, somebody you're running, you're always running from a lion. When you're a deer, right? It's not so much you have, but he says, you've given me this human body where I actually can control myself right now if I want to. So he says, it thanks Bhagavan. Thank you, Bhagavan, for giving me this human body right now. Pashyathyayam dhishanayānanu saptavadrihi शारीरके दम शरीर्यपरस्वदेः यत्सृष्टयासं तमहं पुरुषं पुराणं पश्ये बहिर्हृदि च चैत्यमिव प्रतीतम्.
पश्यत्ययं धिषणयाननु सप्तवद्रिः शारीरके दमशरीर्यपरस्वदेहे यत्सृष्टयासं तमहं पुरुषं पुराणं पश्ये बहिर्हृदि च चैत्यमिव प्रतीतम्.
पश्यत्ययं दिशणयाननु सप्तवद्रिः शारीरके शारीरके दमशरीर्यपरस्वदेहे यत्सृष्टयासं तमहं पुरुषं पुराणं पश्ये बहिर्हृदि च चैत्यमिव प्रतीतम्.
सोहं वसन्नपि विभो बहु दुःखवासं गर्भान निर्जिगमिषे बहिरन्द कूपे यत्रोपयातम् उपसर्पति देव माया मिथ्या मतिर यदनु संसृति चक्रमेतत्. So it says, now it summarizes in 17, it says, Dehanya Deha Vivare Jatarar Vinasrik. I'm so suffering with all this pain. It said in 17, right? It says, why am I going through all this pain? But now in 20, it says, although I am going through that pain, it says, I don't want to come out of this womb. It says, because I know if I come out of this womb, I'm going to get stuck in that Maya again. I realize what a pain it is to be in the womb, but still the world outside is going to make it even worse for me, because I'm going to make mistakes again. I'm going to commit sins again. I'm going to be born again, and I have to go through this whole journey again. right? So the soul is praying, please don't make me be born right now. I'd rather stay in this pain rather than take birth here. Soham vasannapi vibho bahu dukkavasam garbhana nirjigamishe bahirandhakupe yatropayatam upasarpati deva maya mityamatir yadanu samsriti chakrametat.
सोऽहं वसन्नपि विभो बहुदुःखवासं गर्भान् निजिर्गमिषे बहिरन्धकूपे यत्रोपयातमुपसर्पति देवमाया मिथ्यामतिर्यदनु संसृतिचक्रमेतत्
सोऽहं वसन्नपि विभो बहुदुःखवासं गर्भान्न निर्जिगमिषे बहिरन्धकूपे यत्रोपयातमुपसर्पति देवमाया मिथ्यामतिर्यदनु संसृतिचक्रमेतत्.
It's saying Chakram. I'm going to get stuck in the cycle, right? Again and again. Tasmadaham bigati viklava uddharishye. My book has a ya, but you have to make it a ye there. Uddharishye, comma. Atmanamashu tamasas suhrudatmanaiva bhuyo yatha vyasanametat aneka randhram, comma. Ma me bhavishyat upasadita Vishnu padaha. So it says, the only way, it says my only friend, right, I have is, I still remember right now, right? It says, I know what the truth is, and says by constantly praying to you, Vishnu padaha, by constantly meditating on your feet, it feels that I have some hope, right? Because it's about to be born. Literally from the next stanza, the birth is going to happen, right? So it's before it's born, he says, right now I have the knowledge. I know how I can get over this, right? By constantly praying to your feet, I know I can get over this. So it says, please let me remember this. Let me continue to remember this and continue to do this once I take birth also, right? That is the prayer it is doing. So it knows it is no choice. It has to come out. It has done its karma. It has to be born. But at least let me remember all these things once I'm born as well. Tasmadaham bigati viklava uddharishye atmanamashu tamasa suhrudatmanaiva bhuyo yata vyasanametat anekarandhram mame bhavishyadupasādita Vishnupada.
Rajesh, tasmaham vikiten சொல்றீங்க vikatan இருக்கு எது கரெக்ட்?
Tasmadaham vigati.
Vikati இங்க vikatan இருக்கு. வேற யாருக்கா?
ஆமா விகதன் இருக்கு.
Okay, just change it to vigati. Ga ga vigati viklava. Thank you.
तस्मादहं विगति विक्लव उद्धरिष्ये आत्मानमाशु तमसः सुहृदात्मनैव भूयो यथा व्यसनमेतदनेकरन्ध्रं मामे भविष्यदुपसादित विष्णुपादः
तस्मादहं विगति विक्लव उद्धरिष्ये आत्मानमाशु तमसः सुहृदात्मनैव भूयो यथा व्यसनमेतद् अनेकरन्ध्रं मामे भविष्यदुपसादित विष्णुपादः.
Kapilo Vacha. We'll go through some more stanzas, then I'll summarize the meaning. Kapilo Vacha. Evam krita matir garbe, comma, dashamasyas tuvan rishihi sadhyaha kshipatyavachinam, comma, prasutyai suti marutaha. Kapilo Vacha. Evam krita matir garbe dashamasyas tuvan rishihi sadhyaha kshipatyavachinam प्रसूत्यै सूतिमारुतः.
कपिल उवाच एवं कृतमतिर्गर्भे दशमास्यस्तुवन् ऋषिः सद्यः क्षिपत्यवाचीनं प्रसूत्यै सूतिमारुतः.
एवं कृतमतिर्गर्भे दशमास्यस्तुवन् ऋषिः सद्यः क्षिपत्यवाचीनं प्रसूत्यै सूतिमारुतः.
तेनावसृष्टः सहसा, कृत्वा वा क्षिर आतुरः विनिष्क्रामति कृच्छ्रेण, निरुच्छ्वासो हत स्मृतिः. तेनावसृष्टः सहसा कृत्वा वा क्षिर आतुरः विनिष्क्रामति कृच्छ्रेण निरुच्छ्वासो हतस्मृतिः
तेनावसृष्टः सहसा कृत्वा वाक्षिर आतुरः विनिष्क्रामति कृच्छ्रेण निरुच्छ्वासो हतः स्मृतिः
तेनावसृष्टः सहसा कृत्वा वाक्चिर आतुरः विनिष्क्रामति कृच्छ्रेण निरुच्छ्वासो हतस्मृतिः
पतितो भूव्यसृङ्मूत्रे विष्ठा भूरिव चेष्टते रोरूयति गते ज्ञाने विपरीतां गतिं गतः पतितो भुव्यसृङ्मूत्रे विष्ठा भूरिव चेष्टते रोरूयति गते ज्ञाने विपरीतां गतिं गतः
In the second line I have as matim gataha.
It changed to gatim. I don't know what specific difference is, but
पतितो भुव्यसृङ्मूत्रे विष्ठा भूरिव चेष्टते रोरूयति गते ज्ञाने विपरीतां गतिं गतः
पतितो भुव्यसृङ्मूत्रे विष्टा भूरिव चेष्टते रोरूयति गते ज्ञाने विपरीतां गतिं गतः
परच्छन्दं न विदुषा पुष्यमानो जनेन सह अनभिप्रेतम् आपन्नः प्रत्याख्यातुम् अनीश्वरः. You can break it that प्रत्याख्यातुम् अनीश्वरः. परच्छन्दं न विदुषा पुष्यमानो जनेन सह अनभिप्रेतमापन्नः प्रत्याख्यातुमनीश्वरः.
परच्छन्दं न विदुषा पुष्यमाणो जनेन सह अनभिप्रेतमापन्नः प्रत्याख्यातुमनीश्वरः
परच्छन्दं न विदुषा पुष्यमाणो जनेन सह अनभिप्रेतमापन्नः प्रत्याख्यातुमनीश्वरः
चायितोषुचि पर्यङ्के जन्तुस्वेदज दूषिते नेशः कण्डूयनेङ्गानां कण्डूयने अङ्गानां but you can say it together कण्डूयनेङ्गानाम् इं next word starts with the a आसनोत्थान चेष्टने. Cannot break that word too much. आसनोत्थान चेष्टने. शाहितो शुचि पर्यङ्के जन्तुस्वेदज दूषिते नेशः कण्डूयनेङ्गानाम् आसनोत्थान चेष्टने.
शायितो शुचिपर्यङ्के जन्तुस्वेदज दूषिते नेशः कण्डूयनेङ्गाणाम् आसनोत्थानचेष्टने
शायितो शुचिपर्यङ्के जन्तुस्वेदज दूषिते नेशः कण्डूयनेङ्गानाम् आसनोत्थानचेष्टने.
We'll switch last 17 minutes. Sabita, you can be a student, and what should I have? Oh, Jayashree Sriram, you can be a student. Tudantyamattvacham. Tudantyamattvacham damshaha. Add a visarga there, you won't have it, but add a visarga and comma. Mashaka matkunadayah. Rudantam vigata jnanam, krimayah krimikam yatha. Tudantyamattvacham damshaha mashakamatkunadayah rudantam vigata jnanam krimayah krimikam yatha.
उदन्त्यामत्वचं दंशाः मशकामत्कुणादयः रुदन्तं विगतज्ञानं कृमयः कृमिकं यथा
तुदन्त्यामत्वचं तंशाः मशकामद्गुणादयः रुदन्तं विगतज्ञानं कृमयः कृमिकं यदा
इत्येवं शैशवं भुक्त्वा कॉमा दुःखं पौगण्डमेव च alabdha beepsito jnanath. So that's a long word, cannot break it. Alabdha beepsito jnanath. So the D that is there, put a it and a E there. So jnanath, comma, idha manyushucharpitah. इत्येवं शैशवं भुक्त्वा दुःखं पौगण्डमेव च अलब्धा भीप्सितो ज्ञानात् इद्धमन्युश्चुचार्पितः
इत्येवं शैशवं भुङ्क्त्वा
भुक्त्वा
दुःखं
नो इङ्ग्
भुक्त्वा ओके इत्येवं शैशवं भुक्त्वा दुःखं पौगण्डमेव च अलब्धाभिसिप्तो ज्ञानात् इद्धामन्युश्चुचार्पितः.
and the second line Savita alabdha beepsito
अलब्धाभीप्सितो ज्ञानात् इद्धमन्युश्चुचार्पितः.
इत्येवं शैशवं भुक्त्वा दुःखं पौकण्डमेव च अलप्ताभीप्सितो ज्ञानात् इत्थमन्युश्चुचार्पितः
स देहेन मानेन comma वर्धमानेन मन्युना करोति विग्रहं कामी comma कामिष्वन्ताय चात्मनः स देहेन मानेन वर्धमानेन मन्युना करोति विग्रहं कामी कामिष्वन्ताय चात्मनः
Rajesh ji,
சகன்னு இருக்கே
சஹ இருக்கு.
what did I say? Sorry.
சதேஹேன்னு சொன்ன மாதிரி இருக்கு.
Oh, सह देहेन मानेन.
Sorry.
Thank you.
सह देहेन मानेन वर्धमानेन मन्युना करोति विग्रहं कामी कामिष्वन्ताय चात्मनः.
सह देहेन मानेन वर्तमानेन मन्युना करोति विग्रहं कामी कामिष्वन्दाय चात्मनः
भूतैः पञ्चभिर् आरब्धे कॉमा देहे देह्यबुधोसकृत् one word aham mametyasat grahah. Some books might have just grahah. We have grahah, add an extra a there. So aham mametyasat grahah comma karoti kumatir matim भूतैः पञ्चभिरारब्धे देहे देह्यबुधो सकृत् अहं ममीत्य सद्ग्राहः करोति कुमतिर्मतिम्
भूतैः पञ्चभिरारब्धे देहे देह्यबुधो सकृत् अहं ममेत्य सद्ग्राहः करोति कुमतिर्मतिम्.
भूतैः पञ्चभिरारब्धे देहे देह्यबुधो सकृत् अहं ममेत्य सत्ग्राहः करोति कुमतिर्मतिम्
तदर्थं कुरुते कर्म यद् बद्धो याति संसृतिं योनुयाति ददत् क्लेशं put in there next word starts with a अविद्या कर्म बन्धनः तदर्थं कुरुते कर्म यद्बद्धो याति संसृतिं योनुयाति ददत् क्लेशम् अविद्या कर्म बन्धनः
तदर्थं कुरुते कर्म यद्बद्धो याति संसृतिं योनुयाति तदत् क्लेशम् अविद्या कर्म बन्धनः
तदर्थं कुरुते कर्म यद्बद्धो याति संसृतिं योनुयाति तदत् क्लेशम् अविद्या कर्म बन्धनः
यद्यसद्भिः पति पुनः शिष्णोदर कृतोद्यमैः आस्थितो रमते जन्तुः इस goes away विसर्गा कॉमा तमो विशति पूर्ववत् यद्यसद्भिः पति पुनः शिष्णोधर कृतोद्यमैः आस्थितो रमते जन्तुः तमो विशति पूर्ववत्
यद्यसद्भिः पति पुनः शिष्णोदरकृतोद्यमैः आस्थितो रमते जन्तुः तमोविशति पूर्ववत्
यद्यसद्भिः पदिः पुनः शिष्णोदर कृतोद्यमैः आस्तिदो रमते जन्तुः तमो विशति पूर्ववत्
सत्यं शौचं दया मौनं कॉमा बुद्धिश् श्रीर ह्रीर यशः क्षमा so that yashah visarga has to come there shamo damo bhagascheti comma yat sangatyati samkshayam satyam shaucham daya maunam buddhish shrir hrir yashah kshama shamo damo bhagascheti yat sangatyati samkshayam
सत्यं शौचं दया मौनं बुद्धिः श्रीह्रीर्यशः क्षमा शमोदमो भगश्चेति यत्सङ्गाद्याति संशयम्
सत्यं शौचं दया मौनं बुद्धिः श्रीर्यशः क्षमा शमो दमो बहश्चेति यत्सङ्गाद्यादि संशयम्
तेष्वशान्तेषु मूढेषु comma खंडितात्मस्वसाधुषु cannot break that word खंडितात्मस्वसाधुषु संगम न कुर्यात् चोच्येषु comma योषित क्रीडा मृगेषु च तेष्वशान्तेषु मूढेषु खंडितात्मस्वसाधुषु संगम न कुर्यात् चोच्येषु योषित क्रीडा मृगेषु च
तेष्वशान्तेषु मूढेषु खण्डितात्मस्वसाधुषु सङ्गं न कुर्याच्छोच्येषु योषित् क्रीडामृगेषु च
देष्वशान्तेषु मूढेषु खण्डितात्मस्वसाधुषु संगं न कुर्याच्चोच्येषु योषित् क्रीडामृगेषु च
न तथास्य भवेन्मोहो बन्धश्चान्य प्रसंगतः योषित् संगाद्यथा पुंसो यथा तत् संगी संगतः न तथास्य भवेन्मोहो बन्धश्चान्य प्रसंगतः योषित् संगात् यथा पुंसो यथा तत् संगी संगतः
न तथास्य भवेन्मोहो बन्धश्चान्यप्रसङ्गतः योषित् संगाद्यथा पुंसो यथा तत्सङ्गी संगतः
न तथास्य भवेन्मोहो बन्धश्चान्यप्रसङ्गतः योषित् संगात् यदा पुंसो यदा तत्सङ्गी संगतः
प्रजापतिस्स्वां दुहितरं दृष्ट्वा तद्रूपदर्शितः रोहिद्भूतां सोन्वदावत् so the dr if you have it put a it there सोन्वधावत् next word start with the r risha rupi hatatrapah प्रजापतिस्स्वां दुहितरं दृष्ट्वा तद्रूपदर्शितः रोहिद्भूतां सोन्वधावत् ऋषरूपी हतत्रपः
அந்த க்ஷா வராதா திருஷ தான் வருமா
ரிக்ஷரூபி
oh riksha sorry not riksha रूपी हतत्रपः
okay प्रजापतिस्वां दुहितरं दृष्ट्वा तद्रूपदर्शितः रोहिद्भूतां सोऽन्वधावत् ऋक्षक्रूपी हतत्रपः.
Shouldn't it be Raksha Rupi?
No, r,
R.
dr, right? The previous word.
Dr. So,
Yeah.
okay, thanks.
प्रजापति स्वां दुःखितरं दृष्ट्वा तत् रूपदर्शितः रोहितभूतां सोऽन्वदावत् वृक्षरूपी हदत्रभः
तत् सृष्टेषु कोन्वखण्डितधीः पुमान् ऋषिं नारायणमृते योषिन् मय्येह मायया. तत् सृष्टेषु कोन्वखण्डितधीः पुमान् ऋषिं नारायणमृते योषिन् मय्येह मायया.
तत्सृष्टसृष्टेषु कोऽन्वखण्डितधीः पुमां ऋषिं नारायणमृते योषिन्मय्येह मायया.
Wait, on the first line, last word, puman, in only you have, right? Okay.
Puman, yeah.
कोन्वखण्डी दधीः पुमान् ऋषिं नारायणमृते योषिन् मय्येह मायया.
And the first line, second half, Jayashri Konvakhanditadhif Puman.
तत् सृष्टेषु कोन्वखण्डी तदीः पुमान्.
No, the D is a short E. Konvakhanditadhif Puman, D is long.
Okay. कोन्वखण्डितदीः पुमान्.
Yeah. Balam me pashya mayayaha, स्त्री मय्या जैनो दिशां या करोति पदाक्रान्तान् ब्रूवि जृम्भेन केवलम्. बलं मे पश्य मायायाः स्त्रीमय्या जैनो दिशां या करोति पदाक्रान्तान् ब्रूवि जृम्भेन केवलम्.
बलं मे पश्य मायायाः स्त्रीमय्या जयिनो दिशां या करोति पदाक्रान्तान् ब्रूवि जृम्भेन केवलम्.
बलं मे पश्य मायायाः स्त्रीमय्या जयिनो दिशां या करोति पदाक्रान्तान् ब्रूवि जृम्भेन केवलम्.
ब्रूवि जृम्भेन केवलम्.
ब्रूवि जृम्भेन केवलम्.
संगम न कुर्यात् प्रमदासु जातु, योगस्य पारं परमारुरुक्षुः मत्सेवया प्रतिलब्धात्म लाभो, वदन्ति या निरयद्वारमस्य. संगम न कुर्यात् प्रमदासु जातु योगस्य पारं परमारुरुक्षुः मत्सेवया प्रतिलब्धात्म लाभो, वदन्ति या निरयद्वारमस्य.
संगं न कुर्यात् प्रमदासु जातु योगस्य पारं परमारुरुक्षुः मत्सेवया प्रतिलब्धात्मलाभो, वदन्ति या निरयद्वारमस्य.
संगं न कुर्यात् प्रमदासु जातु योगस्य पारं परमारुरुक्षुः मत्सेवया प्रतिलब्धात्मलाभो, वदन्ति या निरयद्वारमस्य.
निरयद्वारमस्य.
वदन्ति या निरयद्वारमस्य.
First line, last word, parama. Sorry, go ahead.
निरयद्वारमस्य, Dana?
Yeah, निरयद्वारमस्य.
Okay, yeah.
First line, last word, paramarurukshuhu.
Paramarurukshuhu.
Yeah, rurukshu.
Okay, paramarurukshuhu, correct?
Sorry, I'm saying something wrong. Paramarurukshuhu.
Paramarurukshuhu.
Yeah, exactly. We'll do one more and then I'll say the meaning. Yopayati shanair maya, yoshid deva vinirmita tamikshetatmano, cannot break it, tamikshetatmano mrityum, comma, trinaih kupam ivavritam. Yopayati shanairmaya yoshideva vinirmita tamikshetatmano mrityum trinaih kupam ivavritam.
योपयाति शनैर्माया योषिद्देव विनिर्मिता तामीक्षेतात्मनो मृत्युं तृणैः कूपमिवामृतम्
योपयादि शनैर्माया योषिद्देव विनिर्मिता तामी क्षेतात्मनो मृत्युं दृणैः कूपम् इवावृतम्.
So we'll just next 8 minutes or 9 minutes, we'll just see how much meaning we can cover. So we kind of left at where the Jantu is finishing the stuti, right? So it kind of says, first it starts by saying, I don't want to be in this painful place. And it says, no, I would rather stay in this painful place because, it's, when I go out, things are only going to get worse. So as it is kind of doing this, so it is trying to have a spiritual realization, right? The soul is having the spiritual realization that is independent of the physical developments that are happening, because the body is independent of the soul, right? So soul is having the realization, but the body continues to develop, and finally when the time comes, right, I think it is a word that comes there for the air. I forget what the word is. Suti marutaha. So the wind that is pushing the baby for the birth, it is just pushing the baby down the birth canal. So whether it likes or not, it is going to happen, right? So it is getting pushed through the birth canal. And then with this, all these forces, when the baby comes out, it says normally, it says the baby comes out with a head in the front, right? With that position, it comes out. And even when it comes out, it says it experiences intense difficulty and discomfort. It's not an easy process for the baby to be born. It says the passage of going through and coming out is a very stressful process, because even though it was bad for it inside, it was not having physical trauma of getting pushed through a small portion, small area, which it is going through right now, right? So when it is going through, it's a very traumatic experience for the body. So when the baby comes out of it, it has a shock to its body, right? So that's the first thing it realizes. So when we think of how is it forgetting everything, it doesn't forget all of a sudden. It's a gradual buildup of things that happens. The first thing it does is it comes out, it experiences a shock because it is getting pushed through the birth canal. It is suddenly coming out, and all of a sudden it exposed to the outside oxygen, outside air and everything. And then what happens is it starts now feeling different things. So the first thing what happens, it is now feeling the outside air, and then the body starts feeling certain amount of pain. It is getting covered with all sorts of, it says again the same thing, all the blood and everything, it is covered with all of these things. Then all this, the body starts to feel. So now the body is starting to experience certain things. The body is beginning to feel pain. The body is beginning to feel various things. So now what is happening? The soul is gradually getting entrapped into the senses, right? All the mind is getting distracted into everything that is actually happening. And so in a gradual way, it is now beginning to, over a period of time, not on the first day of the birth, over a period of time, it is gradually getting attached to the material body. Right, so that is the first thing that is actually happening, and then the baby starts crying because it is suddenly in a new world. Sorry, somebody is not on mute. Sorry, Vijay, go ahead. Our voice is breaking. I don't know, it's breaking. Voice break or Vijay? Okay, so then it comes out, right, and the baby immediately starts crying and all. Anyways, now once it has now come out of the thing, what happens first? Now it has no control, right? Because the mom takes care, the nurse takes care, whoever is taking care, they don't understand truly what the baby needs, right? So it is still in a place where it is not able to make any decisions. It says it's an uncomfortable place. Some place of the body is itching. The baby cannot lift its hand and itch, right? It only has to cry. It only has to communicate to all this. But what is happening in each of this situation is the body is beginning to feel different senses. It is beginning to feel hunger. Because previously the food was coming automatically. It didn't have to experience hunger. Now it is going to experience hunger. It is going to experience thirst. It is going to have some times when it's very comfortably cozy in the mother. Sometimes it is going to have a pain. So when all of these different senses start acting on the body, the soul is now beginning to experience all of those sensations, that it starts feeling that it is that body. I am hungry right now, so I'm going to cry. I am thirsty right now, I'm going to cry. I'm feeling pain, I'm going to cry. Right? It then starts hearing all these external sounds which are there. It starts smelling different things, external people touching it. So it is beginning to interact with all this material world which is out there. So now gradually it is getting attached to all of the material things, right? So previously there was no disturbance. It was just still in one place. Same thing used to happen every day. Now everything is changing, right? So this is how it is gradually getting conditioned to the outside world. So we're gradually getting conditioned, and then it starts growing. And then, of course, it talks about when it goes to Pauganda. Pauganda is when it is 6 years old, right? So when it turns 6 years old, then now the baby has its own desires. It has anger, sadness, happiness. It wants different things. And then he talks about in 29, when he becomes a youth, he or she, right, becomes a youth, then the ego increases, pride increases, all these comparisons. So with all of these things, what happens is the soul never forgot what was there, but it is getting distracted with 100 other different things, thousands of different things. It is constantly getting distracted, because of which it is not able to go back to what it first started with, right? And at some point in the future, it will come to a realization, why am I getting stuck in this? And then it will probably recover and then get back into the spiritual path. But till that point, everybody is getting attached to it, right? So that's what even he says, at the young age itself, Kapila says, when the boy or the child or the girl doesn't know anything, you put them on the right path forcibly, because it's just that the soul has just forgotten. It is getting distracted, right? You let it go, it's going to go wherever it wants to go. You force it into the right path, then it is at least beginning to recover faster. That is the point, right? It's going to take its own time to come back to the realization. Anyway, so then the majority of the thing he actually talks about, primarily the senses, right? How, we already spoken about it several times. He says, if you hang around with people who chase sensory pleasures, you are also going to get pulled in that direction. So he says that doesn't mean you don't have to hang out with other people. But even if you're hanging out with other people, always realize what your principle is, what your focus is. Don't get pulled and distracted because somebody is going and chasing sensory pleasures, right? So that kind of comes about halfway. I know we're out of time, so we'll continue in the next class, the last section of this. Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha, Shri Hare Namaha. Gopika Jeevana Smaranam Govinda Govinda. Sadgurunath Maharaj Ki Jai. काहेन वाचा मनसेन्द्रिये वा बुद्ध्यात्मना वा प्रकृते स्वभावात् करोमि यत् सकलं परस्मै नारायणायेति समर्पयामि. Thank you, everyone.
Thanks, Rajesh.
Rajesh.
Thank you,
Thanks,
Rajesh.
Rajesh.
Thank you, everyone. Bye.
Thank you, Rajesh.
Bye, everyone.